Thank you for talking to me today. I'm doing a class project about happiness. I choose you as someone I would like to interview for your thoughts on that topic. Your answers cannot be right or wrong. They reflect your own thoughts and feelings, and I'm hoping to learn about happiness from your perspective. So my
Of
first
course, I'm happy to
question,
be here.
thank you. My first question is I'd like to know how you define happiness, not what makes you happy, but happiness itself.
Oh, that's a great question. I personally define happiness. Happiness to me is more like a state of being. Like you achieve happiness. It's something you kind of strive to like kind of go for. And obviously everybody wants to be happy. And while there are things that like make you happy and like things you realize that you have while you're happy, it's more to me just like a state of like existence. And happiness is kind of like having not everything like or having everything you want and having everything you need.
Okay.
And this also kind of goes back to me like just being like it's being happy for different people can mean different things because you just kind of have to look within and realize what makes you grateful and what you might have that somebody else might not have. And you just got to realize that you are in control of your own happiness.
So what does that mean for you personally?
For me personally, that means I have a wife and a daughter, and to me that kind of like I'm happy when I'm able to provide for them. When I see a smile on their face, that's what makes me happy. Like their happiness kind of translates to my happiness, and when I can do something for them, or even when I take my daughter out to go get some ice cream and she gets her favorite flavor, and she's saying, "Daddy, can I have some ice cream?" That's what makes me happy personally.
All right,
And
that's
it's
sweet.
definitely like the little things like that that kind of like add up and you look back on and then you start
Mhm.
smiling to yourself and then you realize I am happy.
So I want to ask, how is wealth or money related to a person's long-term happiness?
I think that's a really interesting question because at first I didn't think there was a connection between them, but after I got married and like obviously we went through some like financial hardships, but like being able to come out of it and like having our daughter and being able to provide for her, we needed money to provide for her. And with more money, obviously we can do more things for her. And the things that I get to do for her that I have with the money, it like translates, like I said, to my happiness. Her happiness is my happiness. So while I do think in some cases you don't need money or wealth to be happy, I think it helps you. It definitely helps along the way, and it can be different case by case. Like somebody can be extremely happy and not have everything because they're grateful for what little they have. But for me, it's all about being able to provide to the people around me and the people that I care about. And if I have the money to do that, it makes me happy that I'm making them happy, that I can go out and get my daughter that new toy that she wants, or I can go take my wife out to a nice dinner and we can have a happy night.
Yeah, for sure. So how much do you think someone has to earn in order to be considered wealthy?
To be considered wealthy, I think it also depends on like a lot of the circumstances you have, like how big is your family and like where do you come from, where do you live. So for me personally, like we're not as well off as some other people, but we're doing well enough that I can like get something nice now and then. We're definitely not no Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, but I think like to be wealthy, you'd be having enough and then some to go on. Like we don't get to go on like trips or anything or vacations, but we it's about the small things.
Is there like a certain number, like a certain amount of money per year, or like salary or household income?
I'd say about like a maybe like a household income of 100,000, $100,000 or something above that.
So why that number?
Because that's just I kind of think about it like I work and my wife does so much for us. She's started a business and it's like kind of like a new business, so we haven't had like a lot of traction, but it's been having enough. And like combined together, we make like a little bit less than that. And I think that's just kind of like from my perspective, like, oh, if we had a little more than that, or that's the number that in my head I'm trying to work to achieve so that I can maybe put my daughter in like a better school and I can get better, like I can hopefully start putting money aside for her college fund, and then she'll be able to go to a good school and not have to worry about tuition and having like a ballpark estimate of that number and kind of just being able to earn more so that I can put some to the side along the way and definitely help her out for her future. That's what to me like having a good wealth, and that's why I thought about that number.
Mhm. So yeah, that's definitely like a comfortable place to be at.
Definitely.
So imagine you won a lottery with $100 million. What things would you do with the money first, and how would your life change?
Oh, our lives would change for the better, I can tell you that. I think definitely because our car is on its last legs, it would definitely need an upgrade. And I'd be able to take my daughter to school myself instead of having her ride the bus, so I'm not worried about the mileage on the car. And we'd be able to get out of the place that we're in, maybe move somewhere nicer, maybe actually get to go on all the vacations that we talk about as a family. And I want to show my daughter the world. I want to show her like what's out there, obviously, and I want to see it for myself. So definitely like winning a large amount of money like that, it would be life changing. And it goes back to that question you said earlier of, oh, does wealth equal happiness? I think it does because you can do more with the wealth that you have. If I have all this extra money, I can go do nice things and I can do nice things for other people. And doing those nice things for other people that may require money in turn makes me happy. And then I can make others happy and kind of pay it forward.
Mhm. So how would your relationships change, like your family, your friends, if you won the lottery with $100 million?
That would definitely be interesting because maybe people that I haven't talked to, like some of my cousins that I haven't seen in a while, they'd start peeping their head around the corner and asking for money. So it would definitely be like a tough road to navigate, especially like, although I have all of this, I can't just be handing everything out. I have to invest in the future and invest in making more. And I can't just be giving out handouts to people who kind of weren't there for me in the past. And so it would definitely be something tricky to kind of like navigate and maneuver. But some relationships I think would definitely start to blossom from that. Like obviously I'd be able to do more for my wife and give her all the nice things that she deserves for putting up with me. But some other people might try to come and take what I have, even though they don't really care about, they don't have my best interests in mind. They have their best interests in mind. And because they know having that extra bit of wealth might make them happier, but for their own reasons.
Yeah, for sure. So what benefits related to happiness does wealth provide a person, in your opinion?
I think a lot of it goes back to being stress free. If you're in a tight spot, you're worried about this, you're worried about can I put food on the table tonight? You're worried about do I have enough gas to get my daughter to school? Versus if you have that money, you know you have something to fall back on. Some accident happens, you're fine. A lot of people that I know, and including myself, were one bad accident away from being in a tough spot for the rest of life, one bad hospital bill away from kind of being almost in poverty and like having to go back to scraping by. And I think that's where a lot of people are in life. And there's always that kind of like stress that's in the back of your mind of, oh, one bad thing happens and I'm kind of done for. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do that. And having that comfortable amount of money or winning that lottery would just provide that like stress free and less stress is more happiness. And so I think a lot of it would translate to just having there's much less to think about in a sense.
Yeah, that's very true. So would you like to add anything else?
I would just kind of going back to that notion of happiness is what each person makes of it. A lot of people, like me personally, I do relate a lot of wealth to happiness because that's just something that I have to think about because I'm always thinking about my family and what I can do to provide for them and what I can do to make them happy. But when I think back to, oh, back when I was in my college days, I would be a lot, I wasn't, well, I mean, I was necessarily worried about money, but it was a lot easier for me to be happy because I appreciate the smaller things and I didn't have as many other people to worry about versus myself. Like I was just out there and I like at the end of the day, it was just me by myself and I wasn't stressed about having to feed my family or anything. But now that I have all these extra stressors in life as I'm getting older, I think the way I think about happiness has changed and it's something that evolves over time. I think happiness is like somewhat of a journey that every person has to kind of take their own path and walk their own journey. But in the end, I hope everybody does reach their sense of happiness that's different from for everybody case to case.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you so much for this interview. It was
Thank you
nice
for
talking
having
to you.
me.